Hello and welcome to our very first episode of Radiohaus OnAir. Today we have with us our guest, Lovely Ocean.
Hello.
Also known as Lauren. Yes. We discovered Lauren a few weeks ago and immediately after listening to her music just fell in love with their sound and everything. So we're really excited to have her here to be a part of Radiohaus. So Lauren, or Lovely Oceans, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Sure. Glad to be here. Let's see. I am 26. Originally, I am from Monrovia, California, which is kind of near Pasadena. A lot of people don't know where it is, so I have to give a little explanation behind it, just in case.
Yeah, I liked having that map. It's good to help place it, for sure.
So, that's where I was born and raised for the first 24 years of my life, and then I moved out this way.
Cool. So you're living in LA now?
Yeah, I live in Inglewood, so.
Awesome, yeah, very close. Cool. So you're a musician, you're a rapper. Can you tell me a little bit about how you started getting into music and when you first really broke into it?
Let's see. I've always really been into music, just from birth. I don't know. Essentially, my parents were really big into music. So I want to say it was probably 2 or 3 years ago when I started getting in myself. I was inspired by, at the time it was my boyfriend, but now husband.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, cause he raps. So I was like, I'm gonna try this out.
Did you guys ever do collaborations or anything together?
Yeah, we've done a few collabs. One of them was on my last project. The song was called Theta Waves.
Okay.
And then we've done a song on his. Well, we've done a couple of songs together, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So very cool.
We collaborated.
Sick. So you said your parents, when you were younger, were always playing music. What was in the house when you guys were growing up?
In the house.
What were you always listening to? Or
I could always guarantee that I would hear Earth, Wind, and Fire. At least, that's just the foundation. Right. And then it just kind of ventures off into other things like the Shy Lights, the Stylistics, just other R&B especially.
Do you think that those sounds have influenced you at all?
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
I try to go for beats that kind of have a more instrumental type feel, where you can hear different instruments and whatnot, just because I really love the sound of back then where it's a full band. Yeah,
no, I love that. It's the live music. You hear the guitar, you hear all parts of it. That's
exactly.
Awesome. So I also know that you're a poet originally. So you used to write poetry. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself as a poet?
So yeah, originally I started writing probably in elementary school, just rudimentary little whatnot. And I want to say it was when I was in high school, I kind of started writing more, just because I was not interested in classes. Yeah. So I'm my notebook's open, I'm taking notes. I'm going to do some writing in the margins. And that's just what I would do. I'd be I don't want to be here. And then it would just go on from there.
So instead of being the person doodling on the margins, you were just writing out poetry and all these different parts.
I mean, it was a combination of doodles and writing.
Yeah, you got them both. So are you an artist as well then?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you got it all. Yeah. What kind of art do you usually create?
I recently got an iPad, so I've been really, I've been really just delving into the digital art.
There's so much you can do with it. It's insane.
So much. And I'm just wow, the possibilities are just endless, and just being able to let my creativity run wild.
And I think those are so crazy because it's you have this whole big canvas will you? And you're able just like to zoom in so detailed and go like so far into the actual design of it.
Exactly. And then when I'm using like a regular canvas for like painting, there's no zooming.
You're just like, wait, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's like I actually have to switch the tools now, like myself. So,
which I think is also, you know, like its own creative space, and there's so like they're just two different mediums.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really sick.
Sometimes they merge, and it's like, oh, you can't do that here. But I love to create things.
That's awesome. So with poetry, do you think that that's kind of how you started getting into rapping?
I think so. I had actually quit writing poetry for a long time. Yeah, like once I was probably in my senior year, I was just like, there's a lot of shit happening. I just didn't feel like it. But I had already had like that experience of trying to make things rhyme, but then also throwing in some imagery so that you can get a vision and a rhyme going sometimes. Most of the time they didn't rhyme. But you know, just like whatever.
Getting it out there.
Exactly. And so when I actually started writing songs, I was like, oh, this ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I watched like a YouTube video on just how to like count a beat and stuff. And so I'm like, okay. And then once I learned how to do that, it was over.
You created. So what do you remember the first song that you like created? Was it after that YouTube video and you're just like, all right, I'm ready?
Yeah. The first song I created, geez, yeah, I do. I'm trying to, wow. Yeah, this was a couple years ago. I had been taking vocal lessons.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I want to sing.
Yeah.
Just all this shit. And one day I came to the teacher and I was like, you know, I was thinking about rapping. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, like, why not? And she was like, okay. And so then, like, we took that session and we looked for a beat on YouTube. And she was like, okay, like, you like this one? I was like, yeah, I like it. She was like, okay, you're going to go home. You're going to write to this beat. So then when you come in for your next lesson, we're going to record it in here. And I'm
That's
just
awesome.
like, oh shit, okay. And so I work on it. I came back and I had it. And then we recorded it in her little studio in her school.
So she was primarily just like vocal. Like, did she have experience with rapping at all?
Kinda. She had like a lot of previous like musical experience, so it helped. And she like knew how to record it and everything.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Like, got to take it home and listen to yourself back.
Yeah,
That's
I
really
was
great.
like, this is crazy. Just like even hearing myself like played back, I was like,
Through
wow.
professional, like, you know, equipment being recorded with a
like-
microphone, not just your voice memos on your phone.
Exactly. Like, this is legit. Okay, this is how it goes.
That's awesome. So then you were writing for a few years and you decided to release in 2019, right? Your first 2 singles.
See, I'm already getting my
Fly Introvert and
Fly Introvert and
Hills.
the Hills. Yes, they came out. They came out last year.
Nice.
So that was called Universal Energy. That project, very heavily space inspired.
Okay.
Star Trek.
I love that.
So yeah.
So those are the first 2, and from there you kind of, did you keep recording after that, or were you like in the studio? What was your progress like?
So the first tape I released was in 2018. It was called Her Way.
Okay.
It was based. I got the name just because of like Usher's My Way, and I was like, it's her way. It's her way. And so yeah. So yeah, basically me in the studio at the 2019. Okay.
2018.
Okay,
Somewhere
yeah.
around there.
So 2018-19, I was primarily recording in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Didn't have access to a studio, didn't have money to use a studio, so I'm like,
Hey, some of the best records have come from people just being in their bedroom messing
exactly.
around.
And so my husband, he had sent me a link to like this kit. Essentially, It came with like a microphone, interface, pop filter, and he was like, I got this because he lived in a different state at the time, so I bought one and yeah, just started recording in the room. And since we've moved, we now have like a closet in our living room that we've transformed into our little studio.
At home studios, you gotta have it. Yeah. Yeah, I just started messing around, got my little setup at home too. It's fun to have, you know, when you're feeling creative, you know, you can just do it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't have to link up with like a producer or something. I just go in there. I'd be like, this is what I want to do.
Yes, that's awesome. So how would you say then, like from those first 2 tracks that you released back in 2019, or maybe the one in 2018, how have you felt yourself grown from there, or your maybe change your sound or whatever?
It's always kind of hard to say because I know that with the last tape, I really wanted to like experiment with the sound. So even if you just listen to it, it's just like a lot of different vibes.
What would you say, like, for your like the subject matter? You said the first 2 were like spacey, and
yeah,
I feel like your Lovely Oceans album was like had touched on so many like really in-depth topics that were just like the lyrics in there are impeccable.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like how do you think that really like transformed into that album?
I think once I started like re-listening to myself and just like the older tapes, I was like, okay, this is like something I need to work on in terms of like my delivery and flow and whatnot. And my husband, he helped me out with that a lot. He'd be like, you know, next time like try to do it this way. So like each time I would record, I'd have like this new knowledge, and then I'd execute it, and then it would sound like better and more confident and more professional. And then I started like in terms of my writing, not really like forcing it, because there would be times I'd be like, I have to write a song. I'm trying to get this done, and then like nothing would come. Or if it did come, it would just be just trash. And I'm like, I'm not trying to put this out. Right. So just
sometimes you gotta filter through the garbage, and some good comes from that.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, I got all this bullshit written down, and I'm not feeling it, so I know like people are gonna be feeling it. And just really learning to just like sit with myself and not always have to be like creating something.
Right.
Like, just chill.
Yeah.
And it'll come to you. And that's basically what happened with all of these songs.
That's amazing. Do you think then, like, so you talked about your process a little bit there of like going back and re-listening to stuff and trying to re-execute it. When you're like initially coming down, or you know, you come up with this idea, and maybe it's a garbage one that you're like, I hate this, or maybe it's one that you like. But do you typically follow like, okay, I'm making the beat first, adding different parts to it, do the instrumentals, get all of that set up, and then come back with the vocals? And like, where does the writing come into that? Like, what's your process like?
It really can vary depending on whatever type of idea I have. At the moment, I don't know how to like actually produce my own songs and like and make them from scratch. Trying. It is so hard. So I usually like go on YouTube, or I'll have like producers hit me up on Instagram like, hey, I got this beat, like
That's awesome.
You know, help me out. So sometimes, most of the time, I'll come up with the idea for the song just on the fly out of my head, and then I'll try to find a beat that can kind of correspond with the vibe I was trying to create. But that can sometimes be difficult because it's like in my head I wanted it to sound a certain way, but I can't find this sound on the internet.
Well, so like with songs like off your album, like Gone and Consciousness, like those, I feel like those have such dynamics to them. Like, do you work with the producer then to like go back and forth, or how did that come about? Like that like little intro part that kind of fades into this whole other new song.
Yeah, they were just already created essentially, and I had found them. Originally, Gone was 2 songs, 2 short songs, combined into one.
Wow, I love that. Yeah.
And the beat for Gone, it was originally like hella short, but then I leased it and then I remixed it so I can make it longer.
Right.
And then I combined those two songs and that is Gone.
Beautiful woman, a strong mind, proud to possess. My presence only holds us back, a ghost so you'll progress. My love, sweet love, we made some joyous memories. All the sweetest things you ever said trapped in my sensory. Foolish of me to ever think that we could ever last. I might be broken, but you still reveled in broken glass.
Yeah, I think the lyrics for Gone especially are something that are so empowering and relatable. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that song means?
Yeah, it was mainly an opportunity for me to just kind of like really express myself in a way that I hadn't before, just in terms of like getting really personal, talking about like sexuality, attraction, and things like that. And I was like, there's no better time than now, and then to put it into a song.
Yes,
and
that's right.
that was one of those songs that also started off like a random thought when I was like washing my hands in something, and then I was like, okay, this is cool. So then I just like go and write it down, and then
Yeah, no, I think that song lyrically is really great, and especially talking about like the ideas of like defining you in your sexuality of like, oh, you assume that I am this, or you assume that I like this, and it's like, no, like you don't. It can be anything, you know. It doesn't have to box into that category.
Exactly. And that's what I really loved about making the song, because it's like I didn't feel like any weird energy or like any like pushback or anything, because I'm just being real, because I know that growing up people would suspect that I was queer anyway, but I was like, no, I'm not. But now I'm like, fuck it, I am. Y'all knew.
Can't even lie, I've been struggling how I identify. Told niggas I was straight for years, surprised I guess I lied. Wasn't a secret, y'all be judgy throwing Bible verses. Too much cherry picking, sis, now tell me who's the worst.
You're not queer this way because someone said something to you then. It's just like, you are who you are.
Exactly.
And I think that that's such an important message to be sharing with people. And it's so relatable to so many people to be able to know that like, okay, cool, this person gets that too. Like, you know, we're all very, very fluid in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think that the lyrics on this album, like sitting there, like the beat and everything, you know, you're bopping your head, you're in with it, but the lyrics really just like get you, and you're like, it is so empowering and powerful, like especially with Consciousness. You're another song that's off that track. Yeah, I think that song really has a great message, and especially in light of the way that our world is today, is a message that needs to be shared and needs to be written. Can you tell a little bit more about that song?
Let's see, where do I start with Consciousness?
Beautiful sister walking past the prayer sign and watching the sign mentally ask herself, I thought I knew for sure that I was beautiful. Life is so comprised the whole.
I came with too much focus, I came with too much pride. I might just lose control, but I don't lose my stride. Push myself to keep going, cause it's how I'll survive. While you living in the moment, we just trying to get by. You see the 1% solicited for donations. They don't care about causes, just CEOs getting raised.
Consciousness, so it originally came out on like Juneteenth.
Okay.
And before that, when I had wrote it, it was probably maybe the beginning of quarantine, or like a little bit before that, just because so much racism and police brutality had taken place even like before then. So I was just writing based on shit that's already happened.
Yeah.
And then like as time went on, we learned about like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. So it was really just like, this song is relevant.
It needs to happen.
No matter what. And so I recorded it, and initially I was kind of hesitant to put it out just because I'm like, there are so many like demonstrations going on right now, and I don't know if it's like appropriate for me to release it. But then I was like, I also wrote this a while ago, and shit's just gonna continue happening, like, unfortunately. So no matter when I release it, it's not gonna be like the best time, but it's gonna be the right time.
But I think that it was a good time to release that because you heard a lot of other artists like Anderson .Paak, No Name, like people putting out songs that were like talking about this. Like this isn't something that we can just like shove under the rug. Like this is an issue that we all need to be having this conversation about. And I think that really is a powerful song to be able to bring somebody else into your mindset and understand that like, no, like listen, like this stuff has been happening. Like this has been going on.
Exactly. And so it's like, you know, a lot of things did happen this year, but it's like I touch on, well, generationally, it's just been happening for like centuries, and even just ancestral things and learning about what my family, like in particular, like went through in this country alone and what we're going through now. It's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're still just fighting just for like the basics. And it's like, why is there so much pushback?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I do think that's again, is just a great idea and concept to put and channel into music. And that's the way that we're able to express and hear other people's opinions about it and get to know it. You talked about like that this was kind of like you had written it, started writing at the beginning of quarantine when everything, I mean, we were all dealing with crazy, trapped in our houses. How do you think that affected your writing or creative process?
Wow. It like put a halt. It was like immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, how do I even focus on music right now when like, I don't know, is the world ending? It feels like it is. So there was a while where I wasn't really writing. I would try to write and I'm like, it's not happening. And then one day I was driving back from a client's house. And I was on the 405 and it was probably like 2:30 and it was empty on the 405.
Oh my God, it's so scary.
and I was just driving like, oh my gosh. And then that's when I got the idea for another song called Uncertain because I'm just like, this shit is weird. Like it is 2:30 and there's no one on this freeway right now.
Wow.
I'm like, I am not certain about anything right now. So
how do you think that you were able to like, I know a lot of people were going through that where they were just lost motivation and it was difficult. How did you find yourself coming out of that? Like, have you written since then? What sort of changes had to be made or, that helped you get there?
I think it helped that my job kind of started working from home.
Okay.
So I got to spend a lot more time at home. I love home. I don't like work. So that's when I was like, okay, I can be at home. I'm not necessarily like always rushing to like an emergency or some shit. Like not a lot's happening, so I have a lot of time. And then
hop into that closet and start.
Yeah, so then I'll be like, okay, and then I would like put YouTube on like on my phone and then like transfer it to the TV, transmit it.
Yeah. Screen shares, cast, whatever that is.
Exactly that. And so then I'd have like a beat playing on the TV, and then I'd just be like chilling, and then eventually.
Sending emails, but you're like, oh, wait, this is
fun. So then, like, the words would eventually come, and I'm just like, okay, I'm getting it. I'm feeling it. It's coming back. And then I get excited because it's like, fucking finally.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's definitely good just to, like, have on the background of, like, it's there when you're ready. Like, you're not going down and be like, I need to write a song right now. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm hearing that. This could be something that's there.
Exactly. And then, just get an idea, be like, am I going to talk about something specific? Am I just going to be going off? So it can just be whatever I'm feeling.
That's great. Do you think then, like, so, using YouTube, whatever, finding those beats was a good influence, get you right back in writing? Is there any, like, artists in particular that you think now that you listen to and you're like, I would like to kind of have that sound as well, or that you feel like you channel, or you know?
I really like Rhapsody.
Okay, yeah.
I saw her in concert back in March. And it was like literally right before everything shut down. So it was like the last hurrah. And it was like the best show. Like her stage performance, it just, her vibe, her lyricism, just everything. I'm just like, wow, like she's amazing. And I was in the front row, so I was just looking right up at her. Like,
involved, right in it.
like, how can life get any better? And then it was like, this is the last one thing you'll do in a while.
Wow. Was that the last show you've been to? I feel that, yeah, that last show, I still like remember, going, seeing the live band, the guitars, and just, we'll cherish that for sure.
Just being in like a room full of people, just like on each other, too.
Sweating, all that stuff.
It's like, wow, how do we even do that? But yeah, I'm definitely like influenced by her, just because she says a lot of things in her lyrics, and it's like, damn. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. So do you plan then to have you released this year Lovely Ocean, your full-length album. You also just released your latest track. What's the track called?
Depression on Tour.
Depression on Tour, which is fire. If you guys haven't listened to it, please check it out. Can I hear a little bit more? Tell us about Depression on Tour.
Oh yeah, Depression on Tour. Where do I start? Let's see.
Am I asleep or am I awake? What's the point of getting up if I'm a struggle today? Time ticks as my motivation decreases. Depression is at the doors, playing starter this season.
The concept came because I've been depressed probably since I was like 8.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. It's definitely a roller coaster, a ride. So that's kind of how I got the idea, because I'm like, I don't know. I want to say I had the beat saved for like a long time because I really wanted to use it. This is a good one. And I'm like, this is a good one. I contacted the producer, like, yo, can I lease this or something? And he was like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, I got to use it. And then, no. Before that, it was another beat that I had found, but it was like already sold, so I couldn't lease it or anything, but I still wrote to it because I really liked how it sounded. And that's how I got the idea for Depression on Tour, because I was depressed as fuck, as usual, but like, it was more than that. Right. So I was like, my depression, I don't know, it's like a tour. I don't know. It has different stops, different levels. Everyone's welcome aboard.
I love that concept. Yeah.
You may not intend to get on the depression train, but sometimes you find yourself as a passenger.
It's the train that don't stop. We got emotions on lock. Don't really know what's in store, but my depression's on tour. Get your ticket 'cause it's coming. Nighttime is when it's running. Get your baggage if you're sure, 'cause our depression's on tour.
Shit happens.
Yeah, you might stop and see the show of Depression's tour.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, it's coming back around. Might as well get involved.
Yeah, right.
But sometimes, yeah. So I was feeling like, damn, like this shit just comes around and just like knocks me out, essentially. So I tried channeling my energy into that. Originally that song was short because the beat was short. So I was like, this is just gonna be something quick. I'm probably just put it on SoundCloud to be honest. Cause I was like, I ain't gonna do all this. But then I went with the other beat and I wrote more. That took longer than I expected it to, just because I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna talk about in this second verse. Like I had put everything into, just one verse.
Just say, I thought.
Yeah, so I was like, shit, like I got a line that I used up here, but I don't want to use it yet. I need to save it towards the end, so I got to fill in the middle.
So that one was a little bit more of like restructuring and actually trying to like, I have all these ideas, I got to piece it together, see where it goes. Yeah,
definitely. But I'm so glad with how it turned out. And it's easily like one of my favorites to date.
Definitely. Did you have this song recorded before your album drops?
No. Yeah, that came after because I was like, I'm gonna just focus on getting this album out.
These songs, yeah.
And just work on that. But then afterwards, I was like, all right, back to the old grind.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just continued.
That's awesome. So now you have a few different singles and albums under your belt. Do you have anything you're working on right now?
Right now, I'm working on a music video for Depression on Tour.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's gonna take a while just because I'm drawing it on my iPad.
Procreate and making it. Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm done with the rough draft. So I had to do a rough draft of like everything. So many frames.
So it's like animation, you gotta do each of the different that's a lot of work.
And so now I'm going back and doing the final versions and like adding color, more detail, and really just bringing it to life.
That's amazing.
So,
have you done anything like that before? Or are you making it? Wow, yeah, that's like that. No, I think that's amazing. You were saying earlier, oh, I have this iPad, I can do so many things with it now. Like, I'm sure that gave you this idea of like, oh wait, I could make my own music video. I can do this, you know?
Exactly, because I've been wanting to have like an animated music video for a song, but I was getting like different prices, and I was like, I can't afford this. It's the same as my rent. So I'm like, what else can I do? And I started looking at like other things, and I'm just like, I don't know. And so one day I was like on the iPad, just like fucking around, and I saw that it had like animation assist, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay, what's this? And so I started just like fucking around, doing just like a little smiley face, and I'm just like, ooh, okay, this is how this works. And then I went on YouTube and got a few more like details and how to work it out, and I'm just like, oh, I got this.
That's fun.
From then on, that's what I've been working on.
That's great. How long does that process take, do you think?
It's been a few weeks.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of work, but
yeah, because I try to work on it every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it happens or it doesn't. I don't want to force it, but it's definitely been some weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hopefully by the end of the month, it'll be done.
Putting it out, hell yeah. I look forward to seeing it. Yeah, that's really great. Definitely have to check out your art as well to see. Do you have that anywhere?
Not really.
Just kind of stuff you do?
Yeah, just doodling or just random shit. Like, oh, this is cool.
Well, then for your music, where can people find you?
They can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, I think Amazon.
All those things.
All the popular streaming sites, I'm there.
And under Lovely Ocean. One word, Lovely Ocean.
I'm also on SoundCloud under Lovely Ocean if you want to hear some of my older shit.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely have to
warning. Warning. It might not sound as refined as it does now, but you'll definitely see the foundation.
Yeah, I like that, to see the growth of where it comes from. Well, that's great. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for coming and sitting down today. We
Absolutely.
Have really enjoyed having you here with Radiohaus and look forward to our recording sessions coming out, as well as having you on our live performance that we're doing here in West Hollywood in about a week or so. So we'll look forward to getting that out there.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.